morning, Mrs. Belmont.
Oh, hello, Billy. How are you today?
Fine, thanks. 3 teas, please. 2 with milk and sugar, 1 with milk, no sugar.
Right you are.
I like your new hairstyle, Mrs. Belmont.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yes.
Well, that's funny because it isn't new.
Oh. Neither are these sandwiches.
What was that?
Oh, nothing. Mrs. Belmont, maker of teas, coffees, and very special cheese sandwiches.
Well, then there's the cost of petrol, road tax, repairs, insurance, parking meters. A car simply costs a fortune nowadays.
Why don't you come to the office by tube?
I can't afford it because of the car.
You worry too much about money, Ted.
Me? Worry about money? Don't be silly.
Tea, Mr. Stenhouse? I didn't get you a sandwich because they're all...
Too expensive, yes, quite right.
Because they're all about 6 months old. Sarah?
Thanks. Why do you always exaggerate, Billy?
It's my artistic imagination. I can't help it. They're probably only about 3 months old. That's Ted Stenhouse, one of the best television producers in Britain. Well, that's what he told me. I think he exaggerates too. Mr. Stenhouse is the boss around here. He's very important, very big. Big car, big stomach, big head. Oh, and big desk to show he's the boss. Sarah's one of our reporters. She's smart, efficient, original, so she'll never be boss.
Billy, where's my tea?
Come in.
Right, well, let's have a look at your report.
Are you putting it in tomorrow's programme?
I'll decide that when I've seen it.
Officers and crew are pleased to welcome you on board and wish you a pleasant voyage. The following facilities are at your service: bureau de change for exchange of currency and traveller's checks, hot and cold meals and light refreshments, perfumes, cosmetics and souvenirs at concessionary prices. Should you have any problems, please visit the Curso Information Office.
Dover, White, Portland, Plymouth, southeast.
Well, we take the weather forecast from the BBC, which occur 4 times a day, and in between times, when the weather's like this, you get gale warnings from the local radio stations, and they advise you what the weather conditions are going to be like, so far as the gales are concerned. This is the main receiver. Everyone listens to it. If we want to contact anyone else, we call them on there, and then you shift to another frequency to work. It's for call and reply, but mainly for distress purposes.
I've been running out from Folkestone to Boulogne and Calais for several years now. We operate services all year round, apart from dry dock periods, which are in fact now in season.
When will it start to get busy for you?
The season's been getting less and less marked as a season over the last few years. The day tripper traffic and coach traffic has increased tremendously. Now, in fact, January is about the only month, which we're in now, when you can guarantee for it to be really quiet.
Are there any navigation problems at this time of the year?
Wind is probably the worst problem that we get in the way of weather. Navigation, well, it's a very busy area. There's somewhere in the region 400 ships passing through a choke point, which is only effectively 15 miles wide. And we have an awful lot of traffic. It's a bit like trying to cross Oxford Street on a busy afternoon, because we're going across the main flow of traffic, which of course tends to go to and from Northern Europe out to the rest of the world.
Are there a lot of wrecks in the channel?
Most of the wreckage on the bottom is on the English side of the channel. Most of it is probably relics from the war. And when they say wrecks, you don't expect the Lusitania every time, or the Titanic. A lot of it are merely bits of aeroplanes or
possibly bits of landing craft.
Have you enjoyed it?
Very much.
What about you, David?
I've been in France for 9 months, just over 9 months.
9 months? Have you been working there?
In Marseille, yeah.
What do you do?
I'm a legionnaire.
Legionnaire? Oh, goodness. How's your French?
Very bad.
After 9 months, it must be getting better.
It's not. It's getting worse.
We meet everybody as they come on board, make sure they have a ticket for the crossing, and then we show them to the various parts of the ship. We have more queries on the train connected run, I would say, than the car ship, but then the people, of course, on the car ships see more of that side than I do now. This is a combined train and car ship.
We live in France.
Oh, do you?
And we're just coming home and we drive up. And it's easier with children than flying, really, because you can take more.
Whereabouts do you live in France?
In Mougins.
Is your husband French or English?
No, he's Welsh.
Welsh?
And he's a yacht skipper.
Oh, I see.
So woe betide me if I'm sick on this boat.
I can always remember my first trip to sea, in fact, when I was a young and handsome lad with hair on my head. We went across the North Atlantic in the middle of winter, and I began to wonder if it was like this all the time. If so, I didn't want to play this game. You had 70-foot waves. I don't know if anyone's seen 70-foot waves, but there's something to be remembered. And then we had icing on deck. But after that, we ended up the trip in Australia, and things got a bit better after that. And I think that my first 6 months was probably the most memorable. After a bit, you know, the time telescopes of memory. And I find that probably my first impressions at sea are the most memorable ones. Without trying to be specific, it's very difficult to pick out a cross-channel trip which is maybe more exciting or frightening than any other.
I was right. Prodip's having his lunch in there. Prodip's one of our reporters, and this is his favourite restaurant. You see, the 3 most important things in Prodip's life are food, work, and food.
Salad niçoise, monsieur? Oh, thank you, Pierre. Saw you on television last week. It was very, very good.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. Did you agree with my argument?
Oh, but of course, monsieur. What was your argument?
Oh, Pierre, you only watch television with one eye. You have to pay attention to a television program. It's not the same as... Well, it's not the same as wallpaper, you know.
Yes, I know it's not the same. You can turn off television, but you can't turn off wallpaper. You like the salad?
Delicious. Good olives, too.
Only the best. Nothing but the best in my restaurant. You know, a restaurant is like life.
Is it?
Oh, yes, it is a metaphor for life. The more you put into it, the more you get out of it.
You're probably wondering why someone as talented as me is nothing but an office boy. I think the problem is that I have too much talent. I can't make up my mind. Should I become the Prime Minister? Or a pop star? Or a famous footballer? Or a detective? Or a tramp? Or a tramp?
Hello, Billy.
Oh. Hello, Corinne. You, not having any lunch today, then?
Oh, just a sandwich from the canteen. Prodip invited me out to a restaurant, but I preferred to have lunch with the plants.
That's Corinne. Probably the most important person in the office. Apart from me, of course. Corinne seems to find plants more interesting than people. She might be right, but I don't think so.
Evening.
Good evening.
Well, if you're sure you don't mind.
Well, there's no point in taking 2 taxis. I'll get one if you'd like to wait here.
Thank you, that's very kind.
So, when are you off again?
Tomorrow evening. On the 1930 to Tunis.
Well, you're lucky. I'm up at 7 in the morning.
You haven't been with us long, have you?
I started last week, sir.
It gets pretty hot working here, doesn't it?
Eh? I mean, pardon, sir?
Or is your shirt too small?
Sorry, sir.
Room service. Room service. Room service.
Charles Makepeace, hometown Reading. See what you can do with that.
I thought you had to put your full address on these things.
Well, you are supposed to. Let me know when they've finished in here, will you?
Right, sir.
And when did he arrive?
Mr. Makepeace registered this afternoon. He took a single room and he paid for it in advance.
How? Check? Credit card?
Cash.
Ah. And he ordered dinner to be served in his room?
Yes, he placed the order when he registered for dinner at 8 o'clock.
Did you talk to him at all?
No, there was no need, you see.
Thank you. Did you speak to him?
No. I collected his dinner, took it up, knocked on the door, went in, and there he was.
Did you pass anyone as you went along the corridor?
No. No, I didn't.
Are you sure?
Yes. Positive.
Okay. Thanks.
So what have we got?
I asked the police in Reading to trace the address of Charles Makepeace, and they found 2.
2 addresses?
2 Charles Makepeaces.
And of course both of them are alive and well.
That's right, so now we don't even know who the victim is.
No tickets, no passport, no wallet, nothing. Just one empty suitcase.
Travelling light.
I asked the doctor, and he thought that he couldn't have been killed before 7:30.
Well, dinner was taken up to his room at 8 o'clock, so...
So he must have been killed between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. Yes? Yes, Mr. Smith. Yes, he's out. I'm not sure when he'll be back. Can I take a message? Yes. Right. I'll tell him. Goodbye, Mr. Smith.
What did he want?
That was Mr. Smith.
I know it was Mr. Smith, but what did he want?
Well, he's a bit angry about the new word processor. Says it costs so much. Wants to know why.
Dear, oh dear. I knew this would happen. Whose idea was it anyway to buy a word processor?
Yours, Mr. Stenhouse. Oh. I wish I knew how to use it!
I'll help you, Corey.
Will you, Joe? That's really nice of you.
Well, I'm a really nice guy.
It's true. Joe is a nice guy. As you can hear, he's from the United States of America. I'm not quite sure why he's come to England. Probably to learn about television from people like me.
Want to have a look at this, Sarah?
Oh, is that your report on publishing?
That's right.
I'll be right there.
Okay, now first you plug it in.
I've done that.
Okay, now switch it on.
Right.
Now, go ahead and insert your floppy disk.
Yes, if I can find it.
The traditional British bookshop. Here at Mowbray's Bookshop, near Oxford Circus in central London, there are a huge variety of books on sale. But what sort of books are people buying?
We try to stock as many books on different subjects as we can, and we find that television does in fact alter what we sell. Some books will sell enormous numbers because of a television program, and others won't, which is quite surprising. It's difficult to tell exactly which will and which won't, often.
Since the company was founded in 1910 by Martin Secker, and then Fred Warburg took over in 1935, 1936, and in my own regime, which began in 1971, all three of us have had a passion for foreign literature. It's a very international publishing company.
Do you need a good command of English to become a best-selling English language author?
Oh, indubitably. If you think of, say, Joseph Conrad, who began life as a Pole and then wrote the most immaculate English, then you are believing in a fantasy, because Conrad was unique. No one else has ever come close to that. Perhaps the closest is Arthur Koestler, who became a successful writer in English. But I don't think Koestler will ever be acknowledged as an internationally great figure in the way that Conrad was. But fundamentally, in my experience and the experience of most publishers, I think, you can only write in your native language. And the marvelous thing about English is that it is the native language, it is the first language of people all around the world.
What do you look for when a book lands on your desk?
Either excellence, if it's in a known and ordinary pattern to which one is accustomed. I mean, if a very good thriller comes in, then one wants to know just that it's done in the right style and has the right elements of plot and suspense and so on. In the field of literature, one is always looking for something unusual and unconventional. We look for experimentation, but that experimentation still has to be readable. But fundamentally, it is the literary quality that one looks for, and that is almost impossible to define, because the difference between, let us say, Kafka and Günter Grass and George Orwell is absolutely colossal. You could hardly find three more unclassifiable writers.
What are the risks involved in publishing?
Well, the risks involved in publishing primarily come from the fact that the publisher is the patron of the writer. In the old days, if you were Lorenzo de Medici, you could fling a chap a few gold coins and say, go off and write some sonnets. And if you were lucky, it was Michelangelo. The system of private patronage has dried up. The publisher acts as the patron of the writer. Anyway, of course, you don't always get it right. And one got it right in the case of Angus Wilson and Tom Sharp. You quite often get it wrong in the case of Joe Bloggs, whom no one's ever heard of and no one ever will hear of because it didn't work out. It's simply a question of spreading your risks, being as generous as you can, and if you have a sort of 80% batting average, then you live to fight another day.
Every year, 30 to 40,000 new titles are published in Britain. What is interesting is not only how many books people buy, but what kind of books they buy.
I have 7 grandchildren. I'm looking for books. More interested in children's books than anything at the moment. I like to buy them, you know, a lot of the classics and the books that have been around for years. I like to get them a good copy of those.
It started really as a hobby. It's just something to do. And if you find one author you like, I just keep on reading and reading the same author, and then suddenly there's no books left, so you have to find another author. I think that's basically why I've gone about it.
When I go on holiday, I take a pile of 20 or 30 books with me, and I want to read the novels that I haven't published. I have a great weakness for crime, and I love reading thrillers. But basically, I read what other writers whom we don't publish are up to, so that one has some standards which are not purely insular, not based only on my own experience.
I found it.
Fine. Now insert your data disk into the disk drive.
This one.
Right.
Corinne, I don't think you ought to put that...
Go away, Billy. What do you know about
Well,
this?
You see that disc you just put...
Now press return.
Billy, have you been playing?
Oh, sorry, Corinne, I've got to go now. Mr. Stenhouse has probably got some very important work for me to do.
Billy!
Yes, Mr. Stenhouse?
Put that into the parking meter for me, will you? There's a good lad.
Yes, Mr. Stenhouse.